Hey folks, how y'all doing? It's another Thursday night. It's time for our monthly show with Pete and Martin. So we got a fun topic today. Now this is all in fun, okay? We're talking about bands that we just weren't able to get into. We're not saying they're terrible bands. You know, if you like these bands, that's fine. It's just, you can't like everything. We're not saying they're bad. Obviously, if we're talking about them, then they're popular bands, they're well known, and, they're good bands, right? But it's all in fun. So each of us have picked 5 bands. We're going to go through the 5 and tell you the reasons why, for whatever reason, we can't get into them. So to help me in that endeavor, we've got Mr. Martin Popoff. We've got Mr. Pete Pardo. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Doing great.
Good.
All right.
Lamenting and complaining about baseball.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Let me just say hello quickly to a few people that have come in first runs in here. We got Rob Fulton. Welcome, Uncle Denny. Nice to see you. There's Gary Joyce. Always a pleasure to see Mr. Gary. Cretan Classics is here. Jason Budney. And Dark Wizard. Hey, man. How are you? Nice to see you. Jason Budney, 76. Tyler Patterson. Vincent Leroy, Anthony Ferraro. Yeah, a lot of folks in here. Captain Beyond. Hopefully everybody's doing well. So we all picked 5 bands. And again, as I said at the top, it's not that they're terrible. They're obviously have a following. That's why we know about them. That's why we're talking about them. We're aware of them. But for whatever reason, it just bands we couldn't get into for whatever reason. So we're just going to go around the horn here. We'll just go one at a time. So Martin, what's the first band that you just could not get into?
All right. So as I was explaining, Hack and I were talking about this before. There's something kind of illogical about a show like this, which is like if we really couldn't get into these bands, we wouldn't know anything about them at all, and it would be a 10-second show.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have no idea what these guys are like. Kind of thing. So these are all kind of bands that I'm sitting with a stack of records on my knee here, which I'll show in a second. So these are bands we've all known forever. We've tried to like them. They fit in our worldview here. So I didn't want to pick anything too obscure or too out of there. And I wanted something that we know. So the band is this band here. Hang on, don't fall. Okay. Grand Funk Railroad. So here we go. So this is the one I kind of have some of the time of day for. But I got a whole stack of them here. We got Closer to Home. We've got, all the girls in the world beware. And I find when I go to my Grand Funk section, at the start of it, I'd much rather play. I'd much rather be playing. Hang on, here we go. The Grandpa Band, Alive and Kickin'. So that's what I have right before my my Grand Funk. There's my fully signed copy of that. No idea where that came from.
Or no idea what that even is.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell's that?
Or if I go to the end of my Grand Funk collection, we get into Grassroots, and I have no idea who they are either. I have no idea what this thing sounds like. I look at it, the names of the guys on the back, no idea who they are. But seriously, Grand Funk is just this band. I don't want to go on too long about it, but I've just always found I found them like over promoted. They were oversaturated in the early 70s. The records kept sounding different to each other, but not really heavy ever. I've always found that whole discussion about how the Red album is heavy and they got a song called Paranoid and all this stuff. And the live album, they look heavy. I've always found that discussion that then I run away over all the time. I get tricked to go play those records again. I never find anything heavy about them whatsoever. I don't like the R&B feel that you get from them. They've got this kind of old Detroit R&B, Mitch Ryder and Detroit Wheels or Motown kind of thing that they got going on in the background with them as well. They got the one produced by Frank Zappa. They got one produced, or at least one produced by Todd Rundgren, I guess. But there's another one of their live albums. So I've got tons of this stuff. And of course, yeah, here's the one that looks heavy. You know, the heaviest looking one, Grand Funk Live, or live album. So yeah, I like the singing. I like Mark Farner. You know, they also had the bad blood between them, which, you know, is something that affects me. And that's going to be a bit of a theme here with some of my other picks. But yeah, I just, it fits into that category of, I also did a podcast episode of History in 5 Songs. And Pete and I have talked about this concept before of what is the point of this band? When you've got this band that just does general whatever. They don't fit in any genre, and that's not a compliment. They're just generally making rock and roll music, right? And that's how I feel about Grand Funk.
You know, I mean, they remind me as like the American version of Slade. You know, just a big stomping kind of rocking, fist in the air, kind of meat and potatoes, kind of, you know, sing along rock songs. That's sort of how the vibe I get from Grand Funk.
That's the vibe I get from We're an American Band, but pretty much none of their other songs.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, but again, it's like I was almost gonna say, don't make me go back and play these albums again and think they're heavy, because that's what I hear all the time about how heavy Grand Funk is, and it's just I never hear it. So.
All right. Well, fair enough. Okay, Pete, what's a band that you could not get into?
All right. So the approach I took with this is I really tried hard not to pick bands that I've talked about a lot, because this is always a fun exercise doing this. And there's some bands that I just don't really like. I've tried to get into that maybe I should like, but I just don't. Right. But I tried for this to pick bands that I should really like. But there's just something about them that like stops me from getting into them. I don't like hate any of these bands, but I just don't. They don't grab me for whatever reason, and I don't really have much show and tell at all, because a lot of these I tried, and maybe I bought stuff by them and got rid of them because again they didn't impact me much at all. But the first band is a Southern rock band. I guess you call it a Southern rock band. They're from Atlanta, Georgia. They've been around for about 25 years. I love tons of Southern rock bands. For whatever reason, I just can't really get into Blackberry Smoke. I've tried.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people who like them. I don't think they're terrible by any means. The guitar player is really good.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of fairly cool albums. I heard they're great live. Maybe that's what I need to do. I haven't seen them live. My good friend Eric Porter is always like, "Oh, Pete, Blackberry Smoke, they're great, they're great, they're great." I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I keep, I have a couple of their albums. I keep buying them, and I'm kind of like, and then I listen to them a couple of times. I'm like, yeah. You know what the problem is? It's too country for me. Unlike a Blackfoot or a Skinnerd or a Molly Hatchet or whatever.
Molly Hatchet.
Blackberry Smoke has a little bit too much of that kind of like modern country thing going. It's a little too rootsy, a little too kind of shit-kickery for me. And I think that's what really stops me from fully getting into them. I mean, I can appreciate the musicality of it all. The singer's really good. It just doesn't grab me. I know I want to like them because I really dig Southern rock and I like bands from the South, and it just hasn't happened yet. I've tried. Yeah. At what point do you say, all right, I'm not trying anymore?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. Well, I mean, similar to you guys, like the bands that I'm picking are bands that I should like because they're playing there's other bands similar that are doing a similar thing that they're doing that I love, but for whatever reason, there's just something there that just doesn't, like you say, kind of grab you, right? And the first band I'm going to talk about is T-Rex.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Great
all
one.
Right, I agree. Okay, so, all right. Mark Bolan is cooler than shit. Okay, he had the look. He had guy, the guitar playing. He was like you could argue the father of glam rock and all this kind of stuff. And I'm fascinated with Mark Bolan. Okay, I've watched I don't know how many documentaries on Mark Bolan. Just that whole scene really grabs me and whatever. And there's a lot of hype around Mark Bolan. Oh, the guy was amazing. He was a poet. He was this. He was that. And then you listen to his music, and you're like, okay, I like Bang a Gong, Get It On, because I've heard it a million times, right? And we actually covered it briefly, right? My cover band. And then you listen to the rest of it, and it's like, okay, like it's just not there. The songs are just sort of, he does a few different things. He does a rock and rolly thing, like Jeepster, and it's that riff, and it's kind of doesn't go anywhere, and it's kind of, he does like a lot of that sort of Chuck Berry rock and rolly stuff, and then he does acoustic stuff. And it's like he'll have a song, and it's like, okay, this song's got a really great hook, and then he just keeps repeating, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, where's the B section? It's like, you beat that hook to death, move on, brother. It's just a lot of that, And I mean, and he's got Tony Visconti, which I'm sure was responsible for a lot of his, obviously his producing, but I'm sure a lot of his arranging and maybe trying to beef up these songs and make them better. But you know what? It just sounds like bad Ziggy Stardust. A lot of it. It's like he needed Ronson. He needed a Mick Ronson, and he didn't have a Mick Ronson, so he never quite kind of got to that level. Yeah, he's cooler and shit. The image is great. I love it. Like I said, but he just doesn't have, for me, he doesn't have the music to back it up. It's not there. And I've tried, man. Oh, Slider, gotta listen to Slider. And I listen to Slider. I'm like, I can't even get through it. Like, it's just, I can't do it. And, I would love to love Mark Bolan, because again, like, I've watched so many documentaries on the guy. Like, the actual person, I think, is fascinating, but the music just doesn't match the persona, right? So
it's really funny because Grant Arthur and I did a ranking the album show on Sea of Tranquility earlier this year.
Oh, that must have been painful.
And I think when we both got done with that show, like off camera, we looked at each other and we were both like, are you ever going to listen to any of these albums ever again?
Exactly.
That's funny.
And I agree with you. I think Mark Bolan is such a character. He's such a guitar. I love his guitar playing. Look, I've got a biography I'm ready to read by him and everything like that. But I find like a lot of those albums are just weird and like don't go. I mean, there's some really good songs there, but
it's sprinkled here and there. There's some good ideas and things, and then his lyrical,
like a greatest hits compilation. You probably don't need anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And the lyrical content, like, because like I said, we covered "Get It On, Bang a Gong," and I was, believe it or not, singing it, and I'm like, these lyrics, hubcap, whatever, and just they're totally out to lunch, right? But I mean,
the early stuff is bizarre when they record.
That
folky guitar and like bongos. I'm like, oh, this is maddening. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a painful exercise, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What's your next one?
Okay, my next one is, and yeah, I do feel bad because I have talked about these things before, but I guess not. I'm thinking, Hack. I haven't talked with you before on these.
All right, that's cool.
So it's going to sound a little familiar, maybe to some people who know me, but Eagles, I have this funny relationship with. So this is a band that. I've always kind of hated how successful they were when we were angry young metalheads, and it was just Eagles all over the place, and it was just this boring country rock sort of thing. And yet they just sold millions and millions of albums all the time. I went through a point where I owned everything and I knew everything really, really well. Kind of went on what I call a kick, right? Just really study up on the Eagles for 2 or 3 weeks, and make a mixtape and all that kind of stuff of your favorite songs. So I went through that whole thing, and I kind of appreciated them for a while. But I really don't. I never thought the productions were any good. I found everything kind of boxy and dull and flat, like all the recordings of the instruments, except you can't screw up acoustic guitars. But the drums all sounded terrible. The drumming itself was terrible always.
Oh wow!
Bill Simchuk or whatever his name is. I don't think he was a very good producer. You know, and then, you know, you think of them kind of pioneering the idea of super expensive tickets with hell, you know, that hell freezes over and all the bad blood between them. And as I've said to Pete many times, they're just not believable people, because you hear about how they're like kind of nasty people, and they weren't very nice, and they were prima donnas and materialistic and misogynistic and all this stuff. And yet the songs are all love songs or whatever, right? So it never felt very believable. Like the bad blood was just kind of always there. And I remember reading the Eagles biography, and it was great. But like entertaining all the way through. But yeah, they came off as a little too rock starry throughout that whole thing. I've never seen them live. I've heard both, right? I've heard they're just like dull as watching paint dry, or, oh my God, they're so good. They're so high fidelity. Oh, the singing is amazing, right? I've seen Don Henley live back in the 90s, you know, the shoulder pad suit days. But that, and then he also just seems like kind of too serious sort of thing. So give me Little Feat any day. And, you know, there's the more critically acclaimed bands. You know, I've gotten into Jackson Browne, for example. Linda Ronstadt, no, because I don't want to hear people doing covers all the time. But I love Little Feat to death. I worship Little Feat, old and new. I don't care. Pre-Lowell, post-Lowell, doesn't matter. I just think they're geniuses. And that's somewhat in the same wheelhouse. It's the same sort of Avocado Mafia, New York kind of band, right? People think they're from New Orleans, but they're right into this thing. And they're like the thinking man's version of this kind of music, this country rock thing. So yeah, that's my second choice, Eagles.
Martin, you ever try Poco?
Yeah, I've owned many of those albums as well. And I'm more inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I don't know. How would you describe Poco compared to the Eagles?
I think they're very similar. I just think that the Eagles have a lot more hit songs. I mean, some of the Poco stuff is not as accessible as some of the Eagles and radio friendly as some of the Eagles songs. But I think like the musicality of Poco was always amazing. And I think there's a lot of really strong albums in the Poco discography, you know, because really think about it, there's really not a lot of Eagles albums. They really, for a band that got so huge, their discography is pretty short.
Yeah.
I love Joe Walsh. He's so great. Yeah. You know, I just saw Don Felder live, and he's such a great guitar player. And I think, you know, he really got the shaft in this band. And I agree with you. I think, like, you know, may he rest in peace, but I think Glenn Frey and Don Henley probably deep down inside are not really good people. At least that's what everybody seems to say. That's the impression that I get. You know, they had a formula though that worked. I mean, I like the Eagles, but I can totally see a lot of your points. There are times where I've been like, kind of like, I don't know how much I really like this band. There have been times I really love this band. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. What do you got next, Pete?
All right. So my next band is from Sweden. And I love a lot of bands from Sweden. I think in like recent memory, metal bands, prog bands, like blues rock bands. I mean, there's something going on in the water over in Sweden.
Yeah.
Norway, the whole Scandinavian thing. And I like a lot of power metal bands, but for some reason, Sabaton just rubs me the wrong way. You know, when a power metal band, it relies too much on the cheese. That's like a running joke, right? The cheesiness of power metal. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Something about this band, and maybe it's because they're getting so big, and you know, they're bypassing a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of better bands getting on major tours, right? They've been opening up for Judas Priest, and they're on a lot of other bands. They're doing headline stuff. They're really picking up big time here in the States. But this whole idea of like their whole image is all about like battles and wars, and they bring tanks on stage and all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't find the music all that different from so many other bands that are doing similar type things. And to me, a lot of it just doesn't sink in. It's not memorable. There's a lot of other power metal bands, you know, Primal Fear for one, you know, Iron Savior, a bunch I've been reviewing here. All these other bands from Europe and from Scandinavia who I think are doing this whole power metal thing so much better. And I find these guys just sound so generic, like they're trying so hard with the image, and the music just isn't really doing it for me. It's like, it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing I haven't heard before. The guitar playing isn't exceptional. The vocals are okay. The songs aren't all that memorable. I mean, I probably should like it because I like a lot of the bands that do similar type things, but for whatever reason, Sabaton to me just kind of seemed like a real cheesy kind of joke band to me in the power metal genre. So yeah, I should probably like them, but I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my next band is a band that I should love because I love Priest and I love Doom and I love a lot of the grunge stuff that came out at the time. But this one band I just cannot handle.
Wow.
Really?
Alice in Chains. I can't do it. It's just it's like an overdose on angst. And I love angst. I love Nirvana. I love Stone Temple Pilots. It's too much of that, and it's just. And Jerry Cantrell, the riffs are amazing, and then that whiny voice, that singing. I think it's the singing that puts me off. And it's just when you listen to a whole record of that, it's like, oh my god, like where's the razor blade? Like it's too much. It's like, and I don't know. I again, I love that genre. I mean, I was thinking like, why? I love Sabbath, but I think the difference is because they got this similar, very doomy songs, especially earlier on. But I think it's Ozzy's voice because his voice is up. It's not all whiny and And then you listen to Jerry Cantrell, and he sounds exactly like what Lane Staley sound like. So it's more of that sort of whiny, And I don't know. That just it gets to me. I can't handle it. I mean, in in short doses, I can
You're making a lot of enemies in the comments.
Oh, I know. Whatever. I said this is all in fun. We can't all like everything. And again, I should love it. And I'm not saying they're a terrible band. Obviously, they have a huge following and so on. But I mean, they're Man in the Box. I like them. Bones. Those are, Jerry Cantrell comes up with great riffs. But it's like then to listen to a whole record of that, it just kind of wears me down, man. It's like, I can't handle it. It's too depressing. It's too much. But I think really it's probably the vocals that kind of wear me down, And again, I love angst. I love that whole, Nirvana thing, all their songs about, mental and problems and depression. I can get in all that stuff, but it's just when it's sung with that particular voice over and over and over, like the Rooster, man. The Rooster, what a great song. I hate that song. It's just, I don't know. I can't get into them, man. And I've tried, dude. I've tried because, oh man, like they just put out a record recently, and I was listening to, and Jerry Cantrell's got this really crazy riff where it's all this bent notes, and the riff is amazing, and I'm like, oh man, this is good. Oh, Alice in Chains I can listen to, and then the vocals start. I'm like, I'm out. It's like I can't do it. I can't do it. Sorry, sorry. I should love it. I should, but I don't. So,
all right. Well, I got a hot take coming up too. I got 2 out of the last 3 coming up, but that is a hot take because I think Pete and I are horrified. We love that band. So, yeah.
Well, there won't be any Alice in Chains rankings coming up anytime soon.
Well, this is kind of the same theme, so I'm probably going to get the same kind of abuse. But my next one is Tool.
Yes.
I really should be trying harder, to get into Tool, right? This is a band that is just tailor made for me. It's heavy, it's grungy, it's progressive. It's kind of mystical and cool, and you got the amazing graphics in that. I've seen them live at least a couple of times, and I'm not sure what it is, but I feel semi-supported in my cause because I've heard a lot of people say this about Tool, that they're frustrated that they just run into a wall when they try to listen to them, all that geometric going this way and that way, and then feeling that you can't really find a song, and then the songs are kind of just, it's impermeable and long and murky. And I kind of get that vibe out of it. I don't appreciate the being recluses part, and the dark stage show and all that. And you never really kind of got a lot of interviews and stuff with them. I mean, the graphics are amazing. But I just feel like this is a band that, once I do really give it the good old college try and play these a lot more than I do. I probably will get into them more. And I probably have played this, a couple hundred times. So I was into the early stuff, but it just kind of faded. And maybe, I suppose, it just didn't get better for me. I guess that's a way to put it. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think. But I have heard that before, that this is a hard band to get into, and it shouldn't be for people like us.
I find that with Tool, I like them, but I really, really have to be in the mood to listen to them, and that's not often. They're a band that I very rarely reach for, and I find like some of their albums are just like dense and long, and just they're not an easy listen. I think maybe the early stuff is a little more easy to get into, to just kind of pop on, but like some of the stuff is like from a musicianship perspective, they're impressive. But yeah, I like them, but I have a weird relationship with Tool. Like I don't often listen to them. When I do, I'm kind of like, okay, cool. Now I know why I like this band, but I don't need to hear them again for another 3 years, type of thing. It's weird.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I was just reading some of the comments. A lot of Alice in Chains fans. Hey, more power to you, man. We can't like everything.
Yeah.
There's probably a band you don't like that I love. So hey, it is what it is. All right, what do we got? What do we got next?
Well, I'm gonna pick on a somewhat popular band now too, as well.
Oh.
I've really tried to get into this band, and at one point I had like 3 or 4 of their CDs, and I'm just kind of like, just Avenged Sevenfold just doesn't do much for me. I should like them, right? Especially the more recent stuff, right? I love metal. I mean, the early stuff is a little too metalcore-y for me. It's a little too much alternative metal for me. I'm not really a big fan there. But then, around that time, when Portnoy joined the band and played drums for them, and going forward, they've adopted more of like a progressive, I guess, ideology in their music. And it still doesn't compute with me for whatever reason. It still sounds like the Too Cool Hot Topic band that, I should like, but I don't really like Too Cool Hot Topic bands. So the music is fine. They're great players. I really tried to get into that last album they did, because a lot of people that I know that are into prog metal, like, oh, you'll like this one. You'll like this one. And to me, it just sounded like crazy Mr. Bungle on steroids. And I don't like Mr. Bungle either. That's another band I just can't get into. So yeah, I've tried. I know I should like them. I don't. They just don't do it for me.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a few honorable mentions, and one of them is kind of in that same kind of thing what you're saying, Pete. But okay, here's another one that's going to make me popular. So now, had I got into this band when they were in their heyday, which would have been like I think late 80s, early 90s, I probably would have liked them. But I came to them late, and I think that's probably the reason why. And it's a band that is much beloved. Again, not saying they're a bad band, but I just could not get into them. And I've tried, and I'm talking about Queensrÿche.
What?
Can't do it, man. It's like I just can't. I'm listening to the riffs and whatever, and Chris DeGarmo, fantastic guitar player, and it's just, I don't know. There's just something. It just doesn't grab me. And again, I bet you if I heard it back in the day, they'd be like one of my top bands. But coming to it late, and it's like you were saying before, Pete, like you kind of heard it already. You've heard it all before, kind of thing. If you heard it from them if this makes any sense, if you heard it from them for the first time, it'd be cool. But because you've heard a lot of stuff like that since, and then you go back and you listen to it, I think coming at it from older and listening to a lot more music, and it's like, okay, so it doesn't sound like anything new and crazy and really grabs you. It doesn't. I mean, Jeff Tate's a fantastic singer. I mean, there's no doubt the musicianship and everything else. And I know, and the reason why I made the effort to get into them, it's like, hey, everybody loves this band. They do what you like. You should love them too. This is a whole reason for this show, right? We try to get into bands, but not every band is going to click.
That's
And
a band you can be born again with, though, because there's the whole Todd Latour era now.
Yeah, the most
Now
recent
they're
one.
just incredible.
Well,
I mean,
you know
I
what?
probably get more out of them now than I do even all of the classics, save for maybe The Warning, the first full length. But
Oh well, so that's something maybe I should listen to the more recent stuff, because the stuff I was listening to was like, the classic lineup stuff with, Chris DeGarmo was still in the band and
yeah,
Jeff Tate was still in the band. Maybe the more recent stuff will grab me, but yeah, it's just, I don't know what I've heard. And if you guys are, again, I'm trying to get into them. If you guys have a suggestion, something more recent, then
yeah, just think of them as a new band, with Todd
Yeah.
Funny. He's a powerhouse. He's great. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So
Heavy and
that might be the cure for that. But yeah, man, it's not for lack of trying. It's I listened to Operation Mindcrime the other day, and I'm like, I do like Silent Lucidity. That was a song that I liked then, and I like now. It's a really, it's a good one. But the other ones just really don't grab me. But yeah, I'll try that. I'll try the more recent stuff. Maybe that'll turn it for me. But yeah.
All right.
What do you got next, Martin?
Okay, so Pete knows this one with me, I think, but Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi.
I'm with you on that.
This is a band that I am pretty indiscriminate with my love of hair metal. I've loved most hair metal bands. I don't have a problem with most of it. Yeah, I'm into it. But just something about even just the name of the band and the name of the guy, got names like Tico Torres and Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi. And just, I don't feel like this whole egregious hair metal thing goes with the Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp, Subside Johnny, Billy Joel, Eastern, true, we're real salt of the earth people here thing. I've never liked that. I've never liked his voice. I find all the albums overproduced. I think this Bruce Fairbairn Vancouver thing doesn't work for them. I find his vocals like they just have to multi-track it so many times to make him sound good. And the songs are just that little bit of Americana in there, and all the worst instincts of later Def Leppard is in there. And then they try to act like they're serious and we're intellectual guys and we're U2, and they're moving on and they're whatever they're doing now kind of thing. I mean, this started, the taking themselves seriously thing started pretty early on with them. And I don't buy it. I don't like it. I mean, I do like that Bruce Springsteen aesthetic, which you can extend to Elvis Costello, Graham Parker, UFO, Thin Lizzy, Van Morrison, Vam, of course, it's all there. But grafting that onto this really, really, by the time you get to the second album and the third album, just ridiculous hair metal look and the anthemic choruses and everything. Just never liked that band. Never paid them any attention. Never tried to interview a single person in that band. I mean, I've talked to everybody in hair metal and met them all and the whole thing, and I've just ignored this band from the very start and just never got into it. Let me say one positive thing about them. I did get caught up by the excitement of Runaway at the time. Like for that one brief moment, that album cover, that song, it felt like Billy Idol Rebel Yell, and the magic was over immediately. Like it literally did not go past 2 or 3 songs on that very first debut album, right? And then it was just over. I was just repelled by the whole concept of Bon Jovi. So there you go, Bon Jovi.
Somewhere in New Jersey, Rich Catino is completely heartbroken right now.
Yeah. You know what? I should have picked Bon Jovi because they're just always seem so hokey to me. It's just they're just schlocky. Even the lyrics, it's like they're cringy, man. I don't know. But that being said, Richie Sambora is a fantastic guitar player, and his solo stuff is actually really good. Way better
Let
than
me say one other thing, Hack, that annoys me about some of these bands. These hair metal bands, when they start taking themselves too seriously, their fashion sense does not get better. They just start looking like, they put on a little suit jacket and the leather and the long black coats and stuff. They look worse than they look in the hair metal thing. They look stupider when they start taking themselves seriously. And I think that's a problem with that band too.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on Bon Jovi. All right, what do you got, Pete?
All right, so I'm going to move on to progressive rock, progressive rock, a band from the UK that, again, I've tried to get into this band. I know a lot of people love these guys. The band is, you may not have heard these guys. They're called Pineapple Thief. They're actually pretty popular in the prog community. A lot of people say, well, they're kind of like Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson. They got a Pink Floyd vibe. They're kind of like Radiohead. Well, I don't like Radiohead. To me, they don't sound at all like Pink Floyd. And if I wanted Porcupine Tree light, I should just go listen to Porcupine Tree, right? I don't find their music interesting at all. There's not enough guitar in it for me, for one. It's too synthy, it's too poppy, and a lot of their albums just bore me. I've bought and listened to like so many of their albums, and every time I'm like, oh, this is the album of the year, Pete, you're gonna love it. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I like this one less than the one that came before it. So I think the first album I ever got from them was Tightly Unwound. And I remember Magnolia from 2014 I thought was kind of okay. But man, all the ones they've released since then just bore the crap out of me. And I'm just, sometimes you get to a point where you're like, all right, I've tried, I'm done. Because if you don't get into a band after like 10 years and like 6-7 albums, probably means that band isn't for you. And I just think the Pineapple Thief, for me, just is a no-go.
Yeah.
That whole neo-prog movement, I just found, so it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like some of these bands, they just seemed like they were just trying too hard to live up to what their heroes were doing, right?
Yeah, but they're not even coming close. It's like they're incorporating so much pop into their music that after a while, it's like, well, you're not even really sounding like the bands that you claim to be your heroes, and that's fine. I guess that's progressing, right? But going from 70s style prog rock into a pop band, I don't know if that's really progressing. It's not really taking prog anywhere into the future, but I don't know. But I just find, it's just boring. If I want to go listen to pop music, I'll go listen to pop music. I don't need like a prog band pretending to be pop or a pop band pretending to be prog, right? It's like one or the other.
Mm. Cool.
All right, so this is one of the bands that's one of the famous 4 metal bands. You got Metallica, you got Megadeth, you got Anthrax. It's not those, it's the other one. Never been a huge fan of Slayer.
Okay.
And and a part of it is I'm not a big fan of thrash, and I'm not saying that's all they do, but it's a fair bit. There's a lot of thrash songs. Thrash for me is like, I don't know, it's like, getting blasted in the face with a fire hose. It's like, where there's no music there. I mean, to me anyway. I mean, people love thrash. Again, it's not, it's not for me. And then the guitar solos are like, and it's over. It's like there's no melody. I'm not a big fan of thrash. I mean, certain things there's certain thrash songs I like and I get along with, but not all of it. And and their lyrical content is always, kind of, again, back to that whole depressing thing, where's the razor blade? But when they slow it down, like Seasons in the Abyss is a fantastic song. Like, they slow it down and great riffs and whatever, and it's cool. Again, it's not that they're all terrible, or they're obviously not. People love a lot of that stuff. I mean, Bloodline is another great song. I mean, there are some good songs when they slow it down, or if they do in the thrash thing. The part I like is when they go to halftime and they slow it down. Okay, that's a pretty good riff, and then they go, bah, 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 and then I'm out again. So, again, I didn't listen to them when the whole Rain and Blood, when they were real popular. Kind of came at them a little bit later on. The band I got into right out the gate was Metallica. Instantly, Kill 'Em All, boom, I was in. But Slayer I came to later. Anthrax I also came to later, and I can't do Slayer. I just can't do it, and I've tried. And again, it's just a huge band. I mean, they're one of the big 4. They were obviously one of the the forefathers, if you will, of the modern metal and whatever. And I get that, but yeah, I just I can't do it. I can't do Slayer. So
I've been a fan since the beginning, but I think Martin, you and I have talked about this numerous times. I think Slayer is one of those bands from that period, from that early thrash period, that I've kind of outgrown a little bit. I find I don't listen to them much anymore. I can maybe put on the first 4 or 5 albums and be like, okay, this is kind of cool for nostalgia reasons, but like the 90s and the 2000s stuff, I just never really got into, and I don't even really have any desire to go see them live anymore. I was big into them back in the day, but I don't dislike them because I still consider myself a Slayer fan, but like if I want to listen to like 80s thrash, I mean, I'll pick up a Megadeth album or a Creator or an Overkill album or a Destruction album any day, Testament over Slayer. That's generally how I am nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. We've talked about this. I would say I probably listen to more Anthrax and Overkill than any of those bands. Metallica as well. I really don't play Megadeth much anymore, and Slayer I don't play much anymore. And I think with Slayer, part of it is the whole fucking Slayer, the whole fan thing, fan meme, right?
Slayer!
You look at that and it's like, oh my god, really? Or I got to hear that again, right? Just someone going Slayer. Or yelling Slayer, and you hear about the pits and stuff like that. So it's almost like the fans have kind of given them a bad name over the years. But yeah, and I was a massive fan as well. I mean, they were close to my favorite band, right in there, Rain and Blood, South of Heaven Seasons, right? Yeah, I loved them to death. But all right, so my last one is kind of a hot take. And Hack's probably not going to like this one very much, and I will explain. But it is the Tragically Hip.
No, I'm okay.
You're okay. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, maybe for the same reason that I'm going to say right now too. It is
like
we
over
are
the head with it.
We are so inundated with this band here in Canada, specifically Ontario. That's not a good enough reason, but part of the inundation is it just feels like a band that was like, just crammed down our throats because of CanCon, the Canadian content rules. And the thing with this band, I've got a few bands like this where one member of the band just stands out head and shoulders above everybody else, and that's Gord Downie. His lyricism, his quirkiness as a frontman, and his quirky voice. Now, a voice is just a God-given thing. It's like what you have. You shouldn't criticize it or praise it, I don't think. That's what I say about a voice. But it is a quirky voice. And he has this nerdy personality, and the way he dresses on stage is kind of nerdy with the floppy shirts and pants and stuff, right? But the problem I've always had with this band is that the whole musical thing just seems like general rock and roll, hoser rock, Canadian rock, just meat and potatoes, Midwest rock at times, kind of like Stonesy a little bit. But they do a little bit of everything. And then sometimes it moves over to this sort of pretentious area where it's too quirky and nerdy. And Gord dives right in with his lyricism and dropping the place names and stuff and the whole deal. And a lot of American place names too, right? I've always hated that song. New Orleans is sinking and I don't want to swim. I can't stand that song, right?
I got a story about that.
He's just trying to do a heavy blues, right? And I don't appreciate that, especially from a Canadian band from Kingston. But I do love 50 Mission Cap. So I love that whole story. And it's heavy and kind of cool. But I did go through a period where, all these records, especially in this sort of period, never liked the very early stuff at all. I have no acceptance of that.
Road Apples, no.
But the later, the mid stuff, I really appreciated, I would say, half the songs on almost every one of these albums. And I had a whole various things going and a playlist going, and I was really into it for quite a time. But there's just something about this I guess it's a theme here with my Grand Funk pick as well. Just this generalist, what is the point of this band? What are they really? They're just kind of like roots rock. And then when they rock out, they're not rocking out enough. And when they commit to the mellow stuff, they're not mellow enough. They're just trying to be just this general tepid rock and roll band. And yet they've got this really super engaging, interesting lyricist and frontman and singer. Like the whole package is just a pretty interesting guy. But yeah, just and it's just it's you know, this has been a theme throughout my life with all of these Canadian bands, is that there's this real Canadian self-deprecating thing where you can't get the CanCon rules thing out of your mind, and you get this feeling over time that all our bands really are inferior secretly, if we think about it. So you don't have confidence in Canadian bands as a rule, or at least I sort of didn't. If you're from Canada, you just don't think Canadian bands are that great. And people from other countries look at Canada as an exotic place and think and probably give the bands too much credit. But within Canada, I feel like I am guilty of not giving the bands enough credit. And that's something that's happened with Tragically Hip for me too. So yeah, very weird, complex relationship I have with this band. Love them. Don't hate them at all. But it's a combination of love them and really don't like some things about them. They kind of bum me out in some ways. So there you go. Tragically.
So yeah, I got a quick story. So I play in a cover band, right? I play a lot of weekends around, and so being in a cover band, you have to play at least one Tragically Hip song, right?
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we used to do 50 mission cap, right? Because it wasn't one of those that you heard a million times, right? Now we're doing Three Pistols because that's the song that people know, but it's not been played a million times. Mm-hmm. But Miss New Orleans is Sinking is like, that song is like, for a cover band, is like getting asked to play Freebird or in Canada, or Mustang Sally or something like that. And I was just doing a show up in Collingwood last weekend, and of course somebody comes up and says, "Do you boys know New Orleans is Sinking?" I go, "You got to be fucking kidding me." Fucking doing that. We'll do Three Pistols. That's the only hip we're gonna do, but you gotta do one hip song. It's like and it's for that reason, right? It's just been like friggin' engraved in your brain from all that radio play back in the day. I mean, I'm not going to totally beat up on them. There are certain songs that I do like, the ones that I haven't played a million times. Bob Cajun is a great song. There's some nice songs, and
Music at Work. I love Music at Work, and the video is hilarious.
Yeah. There's some good things, but I think a lot of it has to do with, just like I said, overexposure. Really, just overexposure. But anyway, yeah.
I think I listened to one Tragically Hip song, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me."
That's not enough. Like, you got to listen to one whole album, and then you'll go, "Why are you doing this and this and this and this and this?"
There's a bit of variety there.
Not a hill of beans, right? Yeah. But one song you can't even get what they're like, because they just do too many things, but they're all in this tight range anyways. And by the end of it, you just add it all up and you go, there's no synergy here. This doesn't add up to more than the sum of the parts, right?
They do some nice pop, Courage, the pops sort of vein,
I hate Courage. I can't stand that song. That whole melody and that little galloping thing. Oh, can't. So yeah, so that's the other thing. I think there are a few songs that the melody, or just the hook, everything about it just annoys the heck out of me, right? I love Music at Work, and they kind of really try super hard to have some idiosyncrasies to their production, but it is always a very conservative production at the same time. But you can tell they work at it as well, which is kind of cool.
You got to get over Gord Downey's voice, though. Like, that might be an impediment initially, because
totally, that's so true too. I could see why an outsider would listen to that.
Yeah, you got to get past that. Because the first time I heard him, I'm like, "What, man? This guy can't sing. What the hell?" But then it's like it becomes part of the fabric of it, right? And then that's what it is, right? Yeah. All right. Anyway, what do you got, Pete? Last one.
All right, so the whole vocalist thing is kind of like a theme for my last one here. So sometimes you come across a band that's from a time period that you should love this band because you like a lot of the other bands that were around at that time. Maybe they play in a style that's similar to other bands. But sometimes, man, the singing just doesn't compute with you, and there's no way getting past it. Kind of like your thing with Lane and Alice in Chains. And I mean, I get it, right? So here's a band, and I almost wasn't going to pick them tonight because one of their singers just passed away recently. And I remember, like, so many people have come up to me, like, in recent times and be like, so, Pete, aren't you going to do a ranking the albums of this band? I know you must like this band. Or, Pete, you're not going to do a tribute video because such and such just died. And I'm like, I don't really like the band all that much. The band is the Strawbs from the UK, right? So Dave Cousins just passed away. People love Dave Cousins. I can never listen to his voice, like nails on a chalkboard for me. This is a band that there's a couple things going against them for me. A lot of their music is way too folky for me. I'm not much of a folk guy. They did a whole bunch of albums, like Rick Wakeman joined the band for a little bit, or was playing keyboards on the albums. He was playing Mellotron on organ and some other stuff. And there's like maybe 4 or 5 albums in a row where maybe it's 6 albums where all of a sudden they started adding a lot of like 70s prog keyboards and be like, oh, these are prog rock classics, you know, like Ghost and Hero and Heroine and Grave New World and From the Witchwood and whatever. And I've tried listening to this stuff. Yeah, it's got loads of Mellotron. There's cool Hammond organ. It's kind of proggy, but there's too many acoustic guitars. And then those vocals come in and I'm kind of like, oh, just can't do it. Just can't do it. And it's like a wall comes down. And every time I've tried, I'm just been like, yeah, that voice just doesn't work. I should like this stuff, right? Because it's it's kind of proggy. It's got Mellotron, right? I like it. It's like it just doesn't work for me.
When the music's good and then the vocal just kind of.
And you know me, heck, I want more electric guitars, right? It's just like
yeah.
Maybe a little more rock.
I thought you were going to go complete commando and go David Surkamp, Pavlov's Dog, or Roger Chapman Family, or something like that.
But you know what?
Or Fearful Sharky Undertones. I mean, those three guys go together, right?
The Pavlov's Dog guy I can kind of listen to. He's like Geddy Lee type of thing, and it's weird, but it's okay. I got to be in the mood to listen to Family because he's got a weird ass voice.
Yeah.
But the music is fairly cool, kind of like proggy pub rock type of thing. But yeah, that's another band I got to be in the mood to listen to him. But the Strawbs stuff, just like it's too folky and it's got these falsettos going on, and it just sounds like old man sitting in the village with an acoustic guitar. Yeah. I want to like it because then the big Mellotron comes in, or there's some cool Hammond organ. It's like, oh, there we go, and then
you hear the quarter drop in the tin cup, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I know I should.
I've carried 4 or 5 Strawbs albums around my whole life, and I don't know anything about them. I just put them on, and same thing. It's like I'm falling asleep here.
Yeah, I know. It's just like I should like it. I just don't. I know a lot of people love them, so that's cool. But
hold that thought about the vocals. So this band is a band, Pete, that you're the one who mentioned them. I don't remember where or when, and you mentioned you should check these guys out because they've got a couple of really good guitar players and some really good guitar playing on this record. So I listened to the first record, and I thought, okay, this is great. Listen to the second record, not quite as good as the first one. By the third one, it's like, I'm out. I can't do it. And why? The band I'm talking about, why I can't do it. And as soon as I show the picture, you know exactly why. Okay. It's like, dude, they're playing some really cool shit, and he keeps inserting his voice in every, like, dude, shut up. Let me hear the guitars. That's a nice part. And he's got to insert.
He's the draw, though, man. He's the draw.
People love that guy more than ever today.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I mean, musically, the riffs and the soloing, and it's like, it's got, again, everything that I like is in this band, right? And until he opens his mouth, and when he gets in not so much it's when he gets into the high register, and it just, oh man, it's nails on a chalkboard, dude. I can't do it. I can't, and I've tried, and as much as I like the guitar playing and they got, like really interesting arrangements. There's a lot of changes, a lot of riff changes, a lot of musical meat, so to speak. But can't do Mercyful Fate, man. Can't do it.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame because the music's
But I get it. I mean, that he's polarizing for some people. I
Oh
totally,
yeah.
you either
yeah,
love him or it's just like, oof, what is that? You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but I mean, in music, if you were to take off the vocals on like all those Merciful Fate albums, Hack, you'd be like, this shit is the best stuff
yeah,
ever. It's like, man, the guitar playing, the riffs, the
I
solo.
forget what song I was listening to, and again, I'm making a real concerted effort, as I've made with all these bands. I mean, I've tried, folks. If you don't like whatever, it's like, dude, you can't like everything. And I've made, it's not for lack of effort. And I made a concerted effort, and I forget what song I was listening to, and it's like there was this really beautiful musical passage, and he kept singing over it, and I'm like, shut the fuck up and let me hear what they're playing because it's really cool. And it just, it just torpedoed the whole thing, but just threw a grenade in it. So anyway, all right, Martin, what do you got coming up? What's happening book wise, contrarians wise?
Okay, so book wise, a couple more went up at my site. So I think I've got 30 titles up at my site in my partial reopening, but this is out now, the Big Huge Dio book. So that's at my site with PayPal button.
Nice.
And the Monster Deep Purple book is now up. And just in today, I got the updated version of my Whitesnake book, Walking in the Shadow of the Blues. So that's the Whitesnake book back in print. And there's the Scorpions book back in print with Up to Rock Believer now. So
cool.
And a lot of new stuff added. So that's all martinpopoff.com. And then the audio podcast, History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff, up to 325 episodes there. Where the latest one was called The Cult of Randy Bachman. That was actually that's 2 episodes ago. What was the last one? Anyways, so yeah, that was a cool episode. And Contrarians just put up a review of the Led Zeppelin live EP and a couple other little things. But I've been very quiet because I've been crazy with this whole tariffs thing. But yeah, a bunch of new stuff going up at the site.
Yeah, Martin and I just tonight they showed the Ram It Down, Fix This Album episode on Contrarians. Right. So go check that out. Yeah, that was a fun show. All right, Pete, what's coming up on SOT?
We'll be back tomorrow. Martin and I'll be back tomorrow morning for another Friday morning at the Funhouse. We'll be kind of pondering the question, is King Crimson's in the Court of the Crimson King really the first progressive rock album? So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Bunch of shows coming up this weekend. We got Ranking the Albums of Australia's The Master's Apprentices on Sunday. Saturday is what the hell is on Saturday? We got album homework assignment on Saturday. We have for all of you, we mentioned Slade earlier, so we've got Simon Bray and Stephen Reed, my 2 buddies over on the UK Connection, are doing a From the UK Connection episode on Saturday all about Slade. It's part 1 of a 2-part show on Slade, so stay tuned for part 1 if you're a Slade fan. So that's what's happening like over the next couple of days. So plus other stuff. But.
Nice.
Cool. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I might be doing a live show on Saturday since I'm not gigging this weekend. So keep tuned for that. And I want to thank everybody for watching and apologize if I've offended anybody or if any of us have. But this was all in fun, folks. Just take it for what it is. Yeah. And if you want to help support the channel, links are below. And we will catch you all next time. Take care, everybody. Have a great upcoming weekend. Cheers.